Hey, everybody. Jason Walker, YouRulz here, along with the greatest of all time, Aaron Bland, joining. How you doing today, Aaron?
Doing good, man. Enjoying watching some football. Good to have it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And already week three, this is what I don't like about the football season, Aaron. It really feels like it's beginning to, we wait all this time, 8 months, right, for football season to begin. And it just feels like it's already flying by here as we start with week three. And any chance to kind of enjoy the aroma of a brand new season. It's I've already spilled a drink in the back seat, like a new car. I've already spilled a drink and everything else. Just flying by already, buddy.
Yeah, on the flip side, we have an extra game now.
That's true.
So they threw us a bone, gave us an extra game. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm sure the players really enjoyed that. Oh, great. Yeah, another chance to get hurt. That's fantastic. And all right, well, just gonna jump right in. We're gonna preview week three today. Get you ready for week three. Just kind of look at some of the highs and lows. Remember to keep checking back on YouRulz. We'll have rankings throughout the week: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, at least, and tight end. Get those in there, getting you ready for starts and sits as you get closer to Sunday. Week three here. All right, we're going to start at quarterback, Aaron. And my man, Lamar Jackson, was absolutely spectacular this week. I have a league where I have both Brady and Lamar Jackson. And, Brady played so well. I had started Jackson. So I was hoping that Jackson would play well. And sure enough, a couple of touchdowns. He has the Detroit Lions, Aaron, who are the worst defense so far to start the season. Are you excited about Lamar Jackson in this matchup?
Well, I had predicted Lamar Jackson's passing would continue to regress a little, and I think that might be true. He didn't pass real well, but he tends to make up for it on the ground, which he did, of course. Good thing about playing Detroit is not only is their defense awful, but their offense has been, I think, a little bit better than expected.
Right.
Which is good because it keeps them in the game, getting caught up. So you got to go back and forth. This is what we want in fantasy football. We want a shootout
right.
Because if you have a situation, you get up 30 to 40 to nothing, everybody sits down and they run the clock out. But Detroit can keep up a little bit. So if you got Lamar Jackson gets to Detroit, I'm telling you, Jay, I don't know which is better, that one or Kyler Murray against Jacksonville. But both of those guys, maybe it's 1A and 1B this week.
Oh, yeah. Great point. I mean, Kyler, we talk about it all the time. James Conner came in and, it's still Kyler Murray's show. Everything goes through Kyler. And you're right, with a game against Jacksonville here, you have to love it. The prohibitive favorites, Aaron, that game opened up as Arizona as a 2.5-point favorite. It's just, they're up to a 7.5 points. The line has moved 5 points and the total has moved up 3. So, when you figure that if Arizona plays well, it's Kyler Murray. You're right. Probably looking at 1A and 1B on there. Now, one of those games we thought was going to be a shootout last week. Certainly I did, because I had Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen as top plays last week, was the Chargers and the Cowboys. And it didn't happen at all. This week, Jalen Hurts goes into Dallas. Now we've seen Dallas. We saw Dallas play, not so well against Tampa Bay, at least defensively, and have to keep up. But Jalen Hurts is one of those running quarterbacks. At least gives you a high floor there. They're in Dallas this week. Hurts versus Prescott. Who you got this week?
Well, geez, I like both those guys. Hurts is definitely. It's only been 2 games, but he's also played better, a little bit better than I was expecting. And Prescott's been solid. I tell you what, Jay, I like them both. I don't think you can go wrong in that game. I think we may end up seeing more scoring in that game than we did within the Chargers game last week, which, like you said, a little more defensive action than I was expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you got to like Dak. But one of the things, too, about Dak is that, I think Ezekiel Elliott, I thought I saw it last year. I thought I saw him slowing down, and definitely feel that way coming into this year. And it just hasn't looked good to me. And I think that more is going to be put on Dak's shoulders as they continue on. And, Jalen Hurts, like I said, you got to like these guys running quarterbacks, gives you a higher floor. And you're at least, if your scoring system rewards quarterbacks for rushing yards, which obviously it should. You have to like that. Patrick Mahomes, now the Chargers taking on the Chiefs, another game that is pinpointed to be a high scoring affair. I'm willing to go in again and say, obviously you're not benching Pat Mahomes in there, but with Justin Herbert, another shootout in there, Aaron.
Yeah, we're going to see some fireworks in that one.
Yeah,
I think the Chiefs are annoyed about losing. I think they're going to come out slinging it. They're still having a problem. They're still not running the ball very well.
right.
A lot has been on Mahomes' shoulders. It's going to have to stay on Mahomes' shoulders, I think, for a while.
Yep. I agree there. Obviously, he's all QB1s. Who's not a QB1, but is taking on a defense that I'm going to say definitely struggling. Fourth worst defense, according to our friends at Football Outsiders. The Atlanta Falcons are going to be on the road taking on Danny Dimes and Danny Jones. If you're in a position where you don't have a true QB1 and you're trying to stream quarterbacks, would you take a shot at Danny Jones this week at home against the Falcons?
I might. Jones has been running around like a fool. What did he have? 95 yards rushing that last game?
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy, he doesn't look like he can run at all, but he has a tendency to, you look at the box score and you go, man, Atlanta has been hapless on both sides of the ball.
Right.
I like Jones. I do like Jones this week.
Yeah, I know. And we're going to talk about running backs here next. But I legit think Danny Jones runs enough to where it's taking a little bit of the ceiling away from Saquon Barkley as he continues to ramp up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, another guy that's been red hot, Aaron, is Derek Carr for Vegas, baby. Vegas. They're at home against the defensive-minded but got blown out last week Miami Dolphins. Do you think the Dolphins defense wins out, or is it another decent week for Derek Carr?
I do think Carr is destined to come down to earth a little bit. He's not going to keep up this pace. I think this might be the week a little bit of reality sets in, Jason, kind of like it did for Jameis Winston last week.
Right.
Carr's a solid guy, but the numbers he's been putting up are ridiculous. And I think the Dolphins are going to have give him a few problems this week.
Yeah. Total's already down 1.5 from when it opened. I think the Dolphins do kind of play a little more defense, especially with the quarterback issues there. Could be, a lower ceiling. So if you're streaming quarterbacks, maybe Derek Carr's on a guy. Maybe you got to take a chance at Danny Jones, live dangerously on there. All right, let's move to running backs. And, the top guy of the week is forecasted to be, no surprise, Christian McCaffrey against the Texans. Are you ever concerned when one team is going against supposed to be a weaker one now? Carolina's going into Houston to play, that these top running backs are would you ever bench a top running back in a situation where it looks like it'll be a blowout, or are you just willing to roll the dice? I never want to bench my studs. That's a fact.
No, you don't bench your studs. And, since with YouRulz, the fact is you don't have to worry about that. If they're in a situation, they're struggling, they're hurt, they're way ahead, then you can switch them out. So those are, you have less problems knowing you have some options to move guys out after the game has started. It's a new mentality that we have to get into.
Yeah.
But no, back to running backs a little bit, because you mentioned Ezekiel Elliott earlier.
Yeah.
And I thought he was in for a big year myself. He really doesn't have that much wear on him. Right. He's not old, but he looks old. And suddenly Tony Pollard, it is Tony, right?
No, that's right. Yeah.
I'm watching this game. There's Pollard.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck is going on? The Ezekiel Elliott owners must be furious that Tony Pollard had close to 20 touches or something, including a touchdown. He's a great pickup out there if he's sitting out on your waiver wire, because I don't think they're done playing Pollard quite a bit from here going forward.
Yeah, it's a great point. I saw a great stat on the Twitter machine this week that Ezekiel Elliott still plays a majority of the snaps. However, it's a more even split with Tony Pollard in terms of actual touches. And certainly the more explosive plays are coming from Pollard, especially in the pass game. It really, he's got the Eagles this week. I'll probably have him well outside the top 10, meaning Elliott, well outside my top 10 this week. And it's brutal for sure. And I to me, if he hasn't, he's had a couple games where could have had bigger games and just not happening. And Pollard's looking better. And if it's looking better to you and me, Aaron, it's got to be looking that way to the coaching staff too. So, and there now, one of the studs that, that you may think about, because he had a terrible week in week 2, is Alvin Kamara, who, barely got off the ground last week. He is in New England. So you have Jameis Winston and the Saints rolling in to New England, where Bill Belichick always tries to take away the top option. If you were a start 2 running back league and you had a strong 3rd running back, would you consider benching a 1st-round pick like Kamara this week?
I actually would. Crushing reality came last week to New Orleans. They're not the Jameis Winston love didn't last very long.
Right.
He's got a mountain of shortcomings. This is not a Drew Brees situation. And when your quarterback's lousy, then they can focus on Kamara. And boy, he had his worst game in years.
Oh, terrible. Just
the good thing about him is in PPR leagues, he's always good. He's always, even in bad games, he'll get you 3 to 5 catches, it seems like. But I think his days of scoring 2 and 3 times in that offense may be numbered.
Yeah. I've said it before, you think about Taysom Hill, and you're like, well, I don't want him in there because he'll steal touchdowns. I really believe that those running quarterbacks like Murray and Hurts and Lamar actually open up and bring more opportunities to the table, and at least gets people looking a different way in there. This last week with Kamara, with Winston and quarterback, I think they were just willing to take it away, and Belichick certainly could. It's tough. I know I'm starting Kamara this week in a league where I do have a strong 3rd, but I'm doing it because I'm in the don't bench your studs mentality, and you never know. But man, that's tough. Now, what isn't tough are a couple of guys that had big weeks last week, and Derrick Henry, Aaron, had one of those weeks. In Seattle, not necessarily the environment you would think. You thought maybe Seattle, maybe Tennessee would have to throw the ball a little bit more, but man, Derrick Henry went off as he is apt to do in there. He's got Indianapolis this week. To me, Henry's one of those guys, if you drafted him, you just can't take him out of your lineup.
What I like about Derrick Henry, Jason, is he's old. It's an old school situation. When you and I were playing 20, 25 years ago, it wasn't that unusual when a running back would get 25 carries, 30 carries. That almost never happens anymore.
Right.
Derrick Henry had 35 carries,
right,
and 6 catches.
Yeah, 41 touches. Amazing.
41. That does not happen. I'm telling you, he's the only back in the NFL. He's the only back in the NFL that's going to get 35 carries in a game.
Yeah.
I think it's great. It is totally old school. They're just going to pound them. Boom, boom. If the game is even remotely close, Henry's going to get a ton of touches. I love him again against the Colts this week. Other teams try to take him away, Jason.
I know.
He's just too darn good.
Yeah, and the Titans are at least, with Tannehill and Brown and Julio.
Yeah.
They have more than enough to keep them honest. And man, Henry's just now they're throwing to him too, man, just a sledgehammer out there. You got to love it. What you might not have loved is you may have drafted Mike Davis of the Falcons thinking there's nobody else there. Aaron, I'm watching the Falcons, and here's Cordero Patterson. Up from the grave, he arose and took 2 touchdowns out of the mouth of Mike Davis. I was thinking he would be a flex play all year, but he's got the Giants this week. I'm not sure if I trust being able to play Mike Davis. It's not like this guy's got a huge pedigree either, but what do you think about Mike Davis and the Falcons?
Wasn't Patterson drafted as a receiver out of college?
Oh yeah, he definitely a wide receiver.
Yeah, and here he is. The big attractive thing about Davis was there's no one else there. Well, here's Patterson out of the blue, this receiver turned running back, taking all the touches away. He's worth picking up, I'll say that. Uh,
Yeah.
but the fact is, Jay, the Falcons, it seems like they've been down quick. Their defense is so lousy. I think maybe if they kept the game close, or maybe even that took a lead, if you can imagine the Falcons taking a lead in the game, they might use Davis a little more. Let Davis run some clock. Davis is not dead yet. I think he still had 12 to 15 touches anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can't say anymore that he's alone in the backfield. They seem to love Patterson.
No, I think if you've got a strong flex that you can play over there, I thought Mike Davis would get, a lot of passing. We saw him, he was kind of a mini McCaffrey last year in Carolina, but man, Patterson being able to, it's not like you said, he's drafted as a wide receiver. So it's not like, he can't catch it, and he's got a ton of speed. He's been a kick returner. Just made it I'm not saying that Patterson is anything, but I'm thinking it really muddied the water out there where you thought maybe you snuck in an exclusive situation with Mike Davis. Definitely not the case there. Now, a guy that we'll take two guys that one that you liked and one that I liked, and definitely headed in different directions. But Naji Harris gets the Bengals this week at home. What are your thoughts on Naji Harris this week?
Well, what we predicted on Naji Harris has come true. He's getting every play in the backfield for the Steelers. And volume. He's not coming out for anybody. I don't even know if they put anybody else in so far. But he's looking better. He's catching the ball. He made a couple of nice plays last week. The first week was kind of a mess, but the last week they were better. I definitely like him in this Bengals game. Bengals looked a little bit better though too. But I bet Big Ben is banged up.
Yep.
Pec problem? Is he going to play, Jay? Do we know yet? We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
That's going to obviously make an enormous impact. If he's out, of course, even if he's in, now he's hurt. That doesn't help Harris.
Right.
But I think Harris is destined for 20 plus touches.
I didn't like. I agreed with you on his usage before the season because Pittsburgh was very clear about it. I just felt like Pittsburgh would be so bad on the offensive line that to draft him where you had to draft Harris going in, he was below value at that point. And the Steelers have come out, they're 30th in adjusted line yards run blocking. They're still terrible in there. And the Bengals are actually 5th against the run in adjusted line yards on the defensive line side. I think this is a sneaky week where Naji Harris, if you're betting on volume and opportunity in a game against the Bengals that, right now has gone down 2.5 points from there. It's a 44.5 total. In some places 44. It opened at 47. I think it's a volume week for Harris. You're betting on volume. If you don't have somebody else in a better game environment, I think that it's still all right to play him because he is the guy. But I think it'll be a tough week this week, and especially like you said, if Ben doesn't play. Although Ben loves himself some home games, so if this were on the road, I think it might be even a little bit worse. The guy I like going into the season definitely hasn't done well so far, and that's Clyde Edwards-Hilaire in Kansas City. Just felt like the pie was right there for him to be able to get, and he just hasn't gotten going. And not surprisingly, they made a lot of investment in their offensive line, and I was banking on them being better on the O-line. But I said Pittsburgh was the 3rd worst. Guess who's 4th worst in run blocking this year, Aaron? The Kansas City Chiefs.
Jay, I've watched this guy because in college he was good. I thought it was a good pick. I thought he'd be a good pro. I just don't see him take advantage of anything out there. He comes across as having less talent than he really has. He's a talented guy. I don't know what it is. And then he's fumbling the ball. You're talking about the Chiefs offense where Mahomes has opened up the field for you.
Right. It
should be a running back's dream, and he cannot take advantage of it.
Well,
still his best games are what? His first game of his career last year, he had 100-something yards. He hasn't matched that since.
Yeah. I'm shocked that the offensive line still can't run block. They made a lot of investments in there. I thought, be able to do it. But the Chiefs are just better off letting Mahomes throw 24/7. And man, I thought Edwards-Hilaire had an outside shot at jumping in and being a value even where he was being drafted. But it's not happening so far. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's move to wide receivers, Aaron. And one of the guys that popped this week in all the projection models is one of your favorite guys, and a guy that you touted very highly in there, Seattle, Tyler Lockett. Pop it and lock it, Aaron Bland. He's popping as one of the top plays this week. Seattle is in Minnesota at all. Tyler Lockett, man, in the Seattle Seattle Seahawks.
Lockett might be the most underrated receiver in the NFL, Jason. And Metcalf gets all the hype, and maybe he's getting the defensive attention. They're leaving Lockett open. I'm not completely sure. All I know is I look down the field and there's Lockett. Seems like he's always open deep, and he's always catching the ball and scoring touchdowns. And it doesn't seem like it's going to stop. I think he's going to have a huge season. I think he's looking at 12 touchdowns this year, at least. I don't know. I don't. Him and Metcalf are both good plays, but Lockett just seems to sneak up on people.
just the routes that he runs out of the slot and makes things happen, and Russell Wilson being able to buy time, and Lockett just takes off down the field, able to make a double move, get down there. I personally love DK Metcalf. I think he's kind of I feel like he's like the quote unquote better receiver. They're both great. I really felt like Metcalf take up, but man, the matchups so far have really sprung Lockett, and Russell Wilson just so good on that. Now, one of the guys that you have to keep an eye on. We talk about Ben Roethlisberger out there. Deontay Johnson playing against Cincinnati. I've been a big believer in Deontay. Felt like he get the targets, and I think that has definitely been proven out so far here in the first couple of weeks. But with what we were talking about there, Aaron, if you had a better wide receiver 2 or a flex, if you're playing Deontay in the flex, what are your thoughts on Deontay Johnson this week?
I like Deontay Johnson a lot. I think he's their best receiver, and they got some good receivers out there. But he seems to be being targeted a little more in the end zone than the others.
Right.
One issue is this: the Big Ben situation is he's old. He had surgery. Is his arm better? Is it not better? Now he's hurt again. That's the issue we're not really clear on right now.
Right.
If he can't throw, that's not going to help anybody out there. Let's face it. So in terms of Deontay Johnson, in terms of starting him over someone else, keep an eye a little bit on Big Ben's health. Obviously, up to the game.
Yeah. One team that's been in the dirt so far, we mentioned already defensively, it's the Atlanta Falcons. Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver 1 for the ATL. And, Aaron, if you've drafted Calvin Ridley where you had to draft him, are you happy so far this year?
Well, after week 1, you probably weren't happy. But last week, they looked a lot better. Ridley got in the end zone.
Got the Giants this week.
They're another team. Their defense is not too good, and they're theoretically should have to throw a lot to stay into games. That's why I like Ridley, and I like Kyle Pitts. I'm sure we'll talk about him later. I don't know. Matt Ryan seems like he's over the hill and is starting to decline a bit finally. But I think they've got some more big games left in them this year. I don't see the Falcons winning many games, but we don't care about that. We care about stats.
Absolutely right. 100% there for sure. Buffalo shut out the Miami Dolphins last week. Their defense now goes back home, and Terry McLaurin rolls in with their Heineke, popping a cold Heineke in Buffalo. Terry McLaurin this week. What are your thoughts on the wide receiver 1 for the football team heading into Buffalo?
Heineke had a tunnel vision for McLaurin, and that ever since he's come in, really, for Fitzpatrick. If Buffalo was smart and they got a good D, they would give McLaurin a lot of defensive attention. I think he's going to have a much tougher run of it this week, Jay. I think the Bills are going to focus on him a lot. I like the Well, I was about to say Redskins. They're not the Redskins anymore.
Oh no,
I was about to say Washington's.
Washington football team. Yeah,
their tight end and some other players may end up getting picking up a little bit more of the slack this week. I'm not real high on McLaurin. Great receiver, but not that high on this week. I think he's going to be double teamed all week.
Yep. Logan Thomas is somebody we might talk about in the next one. J.D. McKissick and a lot of other pass catchers. I think you're right on there. Now, looking down the list, one guy that I'm ashamed to say because I've always liked him. I didn't have in my top 30, 35. You didn't either coming into the season, but a guy that has definitely shown to have an increased role with a new offensive coordinator is Mike Williams of the Los Angeles Chargers. Mike Williams, Joe Lombardi coming from that Saints system, putting it in there in Los Angeles for the Chargers. And Mike Williams has taken off, Aaron.
Awesome talent coming out of college. His problem, as we know, injury prone.
Yeah,
hurt over and over and over. Love him when he's healthy, and yeah, he looks awesome, just absolutely awesome so far. In my opinion, is if you've got him, play him for now because he'll likely go down again. I'd be surprised if he didn't go down again, Jason. But the talent's there. Great hands, speed. There was a reason why he was such a high draft pick in the first place.
Yeah, and Lombardi come over and he said that Mike Williams plays the X role on the Chargers, and that is the same role that one Michael Thomas had in New Orleans. And and you're right, with increased usage might mean a faster breakdown. So get him in there this week. It's a no-brainer. A 55.5 game total against in Kansas City, and certainly, even though they laid an egg last week, I'll be betting on the Charger passing attack again. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler definitely want to invest in that game. I don't think it'll be a defensive struggle like the game against Dallas weirdly turned out to be. Just looking down the list here, one guy that I think has been interesting has been Brandon Cooks with Houston, with the team, almost consistently being favored or not favored, but being an underdog. Cooks has been the guy that Aaron, that they haven't Texans have had to throw to out there.
Texans have been awesome. They were. Tyrod Taylor looked like the MVP, and he's another poor guy that can't get out of his way. He gets an opportunity and then he blows it, either getting hurt or something. And here he is hurt again, out for weeks, which honestly, Jason, of course, it totally craters Cook's value. They're throwing that rookie in there who everyone knows is not ready.
Right.
Raw as could be.
Bills, yeah.
I don't know if you should start any Texans right now.
Yeah, they're big underdogs this week, and it's a Thursday night game. So if you're listening to this, hopefully you're hearing it before the game. But Carolina is in Houston. They're 7.5 point underdogs to the Panthers at home. That is a vote of no confidence in Mr. Mills playing quarterback. And even though Brandon has scored a couple times this year, probably want to get him out of the lineup. All right, we'll take a quick look at tight ends here, Aaron. Obviously, if you spent the draft pick, this always would drive me nuts. If you spent the draft pick on Kelsey or Waller or Kittle, keep playing them, man. You use draft capital to do it. There's a reason. It's because they've got ceiling there. But George Kittle and the 49ers with the running attack and everything, Aaron, they're playing Green Bay this week at home. Green Bay on a short week. Maybe have some confidence in George Kittle out there this week. What do you think?
I don't say you can sit Kittle. He's the kind of tight end that can have a 200-yard game. We've seen him do it. He's that explosive, but it's been a disappointing start as that offense kind of finds their footing, and they don't have any running backs left since they all got hurt. Sermon finally gets a carry and gets knocked into the middle of next week.
Unbelievable.
He's out. The starter got hurt, hobbled back in.
Yeah.
Now, under that scenario, it's possible Kittle ends up catching more balls this week. Maybe they won't feel like they need to run the ball as much. So I actually like Kittle more in this game than I have the last 2 weeks.
We talked about Logan Thomas against Buffalo being a good play. Now, you mentioned Kyle Pitts going into the Giants. You like Pitts this week catching balls from Ryan?
Yeah, I think Pitts is going to get a little more involved week by week. I really think he's going to have a good year, Jay. And I really think he's going to, the second half of the year, especially once he gets rolling and gets used to that NFL speed. I love Kyle Pitts, just like I'm sure you do. He's the Falcons. It's obvious already the Falcons move him around. They want to get him the ball, and that is not going to stop. Now, Jay, another tight end who we talked about last week, Jared Cook. Okay.
Your buddy.
Now, Cook scored a touchdown last week, but it was called back. There was a penalty. I think it was from 3 yards out. I was watching it, and I was like, "Yep, there's my guy Cook scoring a touchdown. Here he is against another guy. Great play against the Chiefs. Get all your Chargers in there, including Jared Cook. I like Cook a lot this week."
Yeah, great point. And Rob Gronkowski. Gronk just keeps scoring touchdowns, man. And they're going out to LA this week to play the Rams. And, Gronk smash, but, there's highs and lows. But at this point, Aaron, you got to keep Gronk in your lineup.
There's so many weapons in Tampa Bay. That's going to be a fun one since the Rams have that great defensive line. You just can't. How could you possibly sit Gronk right now? They have all those weapons, and then Gronk's, dancing by himself in the middle of the field. He catches everything thrown at him. Right now, he's a must start against anybody.
There's the synergy with he and Brady. You saw it in week 1 where they just he was supposed to block, but he saw the way the linebacker reacted and he just took off, and Brady knew it. And you can't near the goal line scoring touchdowns. That's the way it is. I expect Gronk to block more this week because of the Rams defensive line. But I mean, you have to play him because he's so dangerous around the goal line. And that, like I said, that chemistry that he has with Brady is just irreplaceable. You just can't teach that. I mean, it's something that they've just had for over a decade of catching passes from each other. All right. Well, that's our look at week 3. Keep coming back to YouRulz. Check out our rankings. We'll list out. So you have the start and sit kind of approach. Take a look at the rankings. Take a look at what they have. We consider game environment and always, in-game substitution. Maybe you don't have to worry about it quite as much. Get your pass interference yards too while you're at it. Doesn't take Jared Cook's touchdown back, unfortunately. But from an offensive standpoint, Chargers had 2 of those called back this past week. Nothing you could do about that. That definitely kept the game total lower. But check us out all week long. Sign up and take advantage of the deals over at YouRulz. For the great Aaron Bland, I'm merely Jason Walker, and wishing you a great week 3. Keep coming back. Play it your way with YouRulz. Bye, everybody.